Are you looking for a quick and easy soup to warm you up in this chilly weather? Or maybe you're just a big fan of egg drop soup? Well, I've got the perfect solution for you here. This is Beth's egg drop soup. One of my subscribers shared it with me, and it is quick, easy, and delicious. So if you'd like to see how this is made, stick around because it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook and amateur baker, and I'm here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. And surprise, surprise, today is not one of mine. In fact, it's a recipe that I got from one of you subscribers. Her name is Beth. She shared this with me a while ago, but I thought this would be the perfect time to make it. Do it on camera, show you how easy egg drop soup is. That is what I'm making. This is Beth's egg drop soup. Now before I go on, if you wouldn't mind helping out my channel and giving me a like, subscribe, comment, share, all of those things help my channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video, such as this Sunday, the 18th of February at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. There is another collab coming out and I'm hosting it, and it is for chocolate recipes, and I have a doozy for you, so you might want to make sure you're notified when that one pops up. Also, I am running low on my own recipes. I haven't had time to play around with too many things. So if there are recipes of yours that you'd like me to do on the channel, please share them with me. My email is down in the description box below. If you'd like to send me your recipe, I'd love to give it a try on the channel. Just nothing with seafood. I'm sorry, I don't do seafood, but almost anything else is fair game. So if you'd like to have one of your recipes featured here, just let me know. I will also be sharing Beth's recipe for this soup down in the description box. I did send her a message to see if I could put it on the blog. I don't want to put it on the blog without her permission. So for now, it will be in the description box. But if she gives permission, it will also be on the blog. So Beth, if you're watching, can I put it on the blog? But enough of that. Let's go over the ingredients. I have here 6 cups of chicken broth. Now in her recipe, she recommends unsalted. I'm using low sodium, reduced sodium. So I am going to also alter the salt that is listed because I don't need as much. But I will be giving you the recipe as she wrote it and let you decide from there whether you want more or less salt. Here I have 3 eggs, and those are at room temperature, but they don't have to be. I just find it easier to whip them up. We are going to be whipping them up until they become frothy, but I'll show you how to do that when we get to that point. Now Beth says she's have this recipe, and I'm not sure how that fits with the eggs, but what I recommend, if you're going to change the proportions, change the amounts that you're going to get, I would do for every 2 cups of broth, I would do 1 egg. You could do a little more, you could do a little less, depending on how much you like that egg. Here I have 1 scallion that's been thinly sliced. Now in her recipe, she did say minced, but I like having the little rings of the scallion in there. But if you want to mince it a little more fine, then that's your option as well. Here I have nothing, because what I'm going to need to do is add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to 2 tablespoons of cold water. So I didn't want to have the water out sitting. Not that lukewarm would have necessarily been a problem, but it is always best to mix cornstarch in with a cold liquid. The reason is, if you put it into something hot, it's going to immediately want to clump up. So if you've ever put cornstarch into something hot and seen just the cornstarch seize up and create little clumps, that's why. You have to mix it with a cold liquid first. But speaking of the cornstarch, here I have 2 tablespoons of cornstarch because we want to thicken up the broth a little bit. If you've ever had egg drop soup at a Chinese restaurant, you know it's not that thin soup like a chicken noodle soup. It's not that thin broth. We want a little texture, a little silkiness on the tongue, so that is going to help us to achieve that restaurant quality egg drop soup. Here I have 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. Now that is going to go in at the end with our scallions. But if you didn't want to use the sesame oil, you could get away without it, but it does add a nice flavor. But if you do without it, you can actually drop the bites and points a little bit, but I'll discuss that later when we go over the nutrition facts. Here I have 1 teaspoon of minced ginger. Now in her recipe, she said 1 slice of ginger. And she did say she, like I, often use the ginger in the squeeze bottle that's already been minced. So I'm judging about a teaspoon. I may want to go up a little bit or maybe even down. I just don't want it too gingery because that is not the main flavoring. That is just a background note. So you don't want it too strong. Here I have 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper and 1/4 of a teaspoon of table salt. Now, as I said, I'm using reduced sodium stock. I am not using the unsalted that she recommended. In her recipe, she recommends 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt because she's using unsalted. Because I'm using reduced, I dropped it down to a 1/4 teaspoon. And if you're using salted, you may want to taste it at the end and decide if you want to add any salt at all. But those are all of our ingredients. Let me shuffle a few things around and we'll get started. All right, so I have put my 6 cups of broth in my stock pot here, and you do want to get that boiling before you add anything else in. So that is on and that is heating up. Now I'm going to break up the eggs and get them to a frothy state, and I'll show you what that looks like. All we're going to do is beat them and get them broken up, and we're going to keep beating them until they become frothy and there is a uniform color. And so that I don't keep clicking the bowl on the counter as I'm trying to whisk. Hopefully I don't throw egg on myself. Wouldn't be the first time. I throw food all the time. You just want to keep whisking this until we get it kind of frothy. So let me get this whipped up and nice and frothy, and then I will be back to show you what this looks like, and hopefully our broth will be boiling so we can move on, because this goes pretty quickly. So I'll be right back. All right, so this is what I mean when I say it should be a little frothy. There are just a bunch of little bubbles on top. You don't need to whip it into some foam or anything. You just want some bubbles on the top like that. All right, so now that the eggs are done, I'm gonna move those over here, and I'm going to whip up my slurry. This is called a cornstarch slurry. Whenever you mix cornstarch in with a liquid, they call it a slurry. I'm not exactly sure why, but you want usually equal amounts of water to cornstarch. I'm going to add that in to our water. And again, this is cold water. You want the water cold, otherwise this is going to clump. And you will want to keep your spoon handy while you're pouring it in later, because it is going to settle a little bit on the bottom, but that's all you need to do is just mix those two together. And now our soup is boiling, so we're going to add in salt, pepper, and the ginger, and we're just going to stir that in. If it starts to bubble too much, as mine is doing, I'm going to lower the heat a little bit and just stir all of those things in. Okay, and next we're going to add in the cornstarch, drizzle that in a bit, and just make sure that there's nothing sitting at the bottom that we need, and stir that through. Now we're gonna let this boil for about a minute just so that cornstarch can thicken, because as I said, it's the heat that's going to make that thicken up. So you wanna get that silky texture. You wanna boil this a little bit and get that cornstarch activated. Okay, so it's been about a minute, and the soup is getting a little glossiness from the cornstarch, which is very common of that kind of soup. So then pretty much the last step is to slowly pour in your eggs as you're stirring, because you want this to become egg drop soup. You don't want it to become a big clump of egg in there. You want to slowly add it in so you get those ribbons that are so common in egg drop soup. And turn off the heat and you're done. That's all there is to it, to making a very easy and quick egg drop soup. Now the last step, as I said, is to drizzle on the sesame oil and the scallions and just stir that all through, and there you have it. That's all there is to making this delicious egg drop soup. I did taste it. The seasoning is perfect. It tastes just like egg drop soup that you would get from a Chinese restaurant. It's got that nice silky texture. So thank you so much, Beth, for sharing this recipe with me. And as I said, if you want one of your recipes featured on the channel, just send it to me down at my email linked below, and I will give that a try as well. This is a community, a weight loss community. We need to be sharing our recipes, sharing our tips and tricks, and that's what I like to do, and here's your chance to do it yourself. Now this makes 6 servings. Each serving is about a cup, obviously, because we use 6 cups of broth. And each of those is only going to be 1 Better Balance Bite or Old Blue Point. I am on the Healthy Better Balance plan, which is equivalent to the old WW Blue plan, which is around where their current plan is. But just 1 bite or Blue Point for this soup. Now you can also have 2 cups and still keep it at 1 bite. If you decided to eat the entire pot for some reason, it would only be 4. But that's also using the sesame oil. If you don't use the oil, you can bring this down to 0 bites or 0 blue points. But if you are following calories, the calories for 1 serving of this is going to be 62. And if you are following macros, the fat is 3.1 grams. Saturated fat is 0.9 grams. Protein is 4.2 grams. Carbs are 3.8 grams. Fiber is 0.1 grams. And sugars are 0.2 grams, as I made it here with the scallions, with the sesame oil. But this is perfect for this chilly weather. It's gotten cold here again in Massachusetts. I think last week it was almost 50, and this week it's down in the 20s, so go figure, it's New England. But if you enjoyed this video and this recipe, I'd appreciate you doing the usual, as I mentioned before. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit that notification bell. It lets YouTube know that you like what you've seen and that you're engaged in the content, and it does help with their algorithms. I'm not exactly sure how, because I'm not a technical person, but it does. And if you would like this recipe, as I said, I'm writing it up down in the description box. If Beth gives her permission, I will put it on the blog as well so that you can print it out from there. Also down there is my Amazon storefront. If I've used anything that you're interested in, whether it's food or housewares, etc., it may be there. Also, there is about 1 week left for the code I have for the Simply Cool Things utensil set that I've been using. I'm not getting any money from them. I'm just promoting them because I really do like them and use them all the time now. But I think there's just 1 week left to use the code down there to save yourself 10%. But it will also be in my Amazon storefront if you are watching this after that time. Also down there, until the 18th of February, I entered one of my recipes, my powdered peanut butter cookies, into a contest with PBFit. So there's a link down in the description box. You can vote 3 times a day until the 18th of February. So hopefully you'll give me a little vote there and hopefully help me out with a contest win. Also in the description box is my social media, both my Instagram and 3 Facebook groups that I'm part of. So check out that description box for all sorts of information. Now I am going to go and have myself a cup of soup, or maybe even 2. I haven't decided yet. But until next time, bye. But enough of that. We are going to be making some delicious eggnog soup. Eggnog.